This is crawler 2, actually. We have squatters' rights in High Bay 2. High Bay 2 was the safe haven for the shuttle program. We processed out of those two, but we could put an MLP in here. But because of that, that meant we had a crawlerway. So very few things go on in High Bay 2, and we were able to, I hate these things. But crawler 2 is one of the D1 crawler that's being upgraded for the SLS program. For the most part, that means parts obsolescence issues are getting dealt with. We're removing a lot of the old equipment. It's Apollo era. The shell is obviously 60s vintage, but we've upgraded all the electronics, all the mechanical components. Built in the 60s, constructed in 65. They've supported every program, manned program that we've had out here, and they're planning to support the new SLS also. There were some studies involved that looked at replacing them with either new tracked equipment or going with the rubber tire transporters that you may have seen, processing and ports and the like, but even the Goodyear rep didn't want to take that on himself. He looked at it and he said rubber would be a horrible application out here. So we ended up looking at pricing and what these guys could do, and we decided that going with what we had now and just upgrading it was the way to go. I mentioned parts obsolescence, but with the increased load, we actually will be picking up about 50% more than the crawler ever has before. So for the most part, that meant a structural investigation. There's a couple things that we're doing structurally to reinforce it, but also the hydraulics. We're replacing all of the jacking cylinders and a lot of the traction support components along the bottom. If you guys are going to be here in a month, they're actually, the first time ever, they're going to be cribbing up the crawler. So essentially we're going to be putting it on wood and jacking up the crawler itself so that it's held on the wood, and then we're replacing all the structural components underneath too. So it's going to be interesting to see. We've always talked about if there was a crawler breakdown on the open crawlerway with the shuttle on board, well, what do? I mean, you can't bring the other crawler out and tow it in. So you call AAA, something like that. So we always joked about having to come out and put cribbing up underneath the crawler and get the crawler out so we could bring the second one in. Luckily that's never happened, but it's always been in our mind. So now as we come in and we said, the best way to do a mass change out of some of these structural components is to take the load off the structure itself and do all the work there.
You said that the SLS will be heavier
yes, it will.
Than anything it's ever dealt with?
It will, once the SLS and the ML is taken into account. What's ML, yeah, the ML, the mobile launcher out here. The mobile launchers out, the MLPs, as you can see, those shuttle equipment. We actually built a new mobile launcher for the Constellation program that's being transferred over to the SLS. So what you're looking at, the crawler weighs about 6 million pounds. The MLPs for the shuttle weighed about 9 million, and the shuttles was another 3. So you're looking at about 18 million going down the crawlerway. What we're actually looking at now is 24 million going down the crawlerway. So instead of picking up 12, we're looking at picking up, with wind loads and off-nominal situations, about 18 million. So we're looking at sprung load going from 12 to 18. So, as a crawler, we got to be able to pick up 50% more, but you got to also investigate the crawlerway because it's going from 18 to 24 also. For the most part, that's not an issue. There are some road crossings. I don't know if you guys have paid attention if you're going out and back from the pad, things like that, but we do cross asphalt roads, and nothing will destroy an asphalt road like our weight in the middle of July in the heat. We will pick up that asphalt and just rip it up. If you ever drive across that road, you'll actually feel the rivet in the crawlerway, or in the road where we destroyed it. The crawlerway itself was actually paved back in the 60s. We actually paved it the whole way out to the pad, and that's where we discovered our July issues.
Oh, now it's just gravel?
Yeah, now it's actually river rock. Yeah, it's actually river rock. It helps with our suspension and with friction. So for the most part, it's river rock the whole way out. There are a couple roads, but we're actually removing a couple of those roads to aid in our SLS transition.
Is the building designed to withstand any kind of earthquake or tremors?
Dave might be a better person to answer that. I know that it is designed for it. I don't know what and wind loads really. What they were really looking at is less of a tremor concern in Florida. But it's when we had was it 2004 I believe, when we had a few hurricanes go through and span about 3 weeks. I think we had 4 go through in 3 weeks or something along those lines. I mean the paneling on the south side was all ripped off, but the VAB itself, I think it's measured for 150 mile-an-hour winds, but they might be able to answer that better than I.
How do you secure?
How do I secure?
How do you secure the equipment at that?
When
you're transporting.
When we're transporting it. Yeah, if you actually look under the MLP, we actually, for a normal operation, the crawler can translate between 20 to 26 feet. So we'll actually jack down and slide underneath. The MLP sits on 6 mounts. But as far as for us, it actually only sits on 4 locations on the crawler, and they're directly above the guide tubes. As far as securing, I mean, there's no locking plates, there's no key locks, there's no interlocks. The ML weight keeps it on us. Now, that being said, we can never get up to a speed fast enough where if we hit the brakes and slide off. The crawlers are designed to go 1 mile an hour loaded or 2 miles an hour unloaded. As far as the crawler is concerned, a load is anything. It doesn't have to necessarily be flight hardware. If we're picking up an ML or an MLP, it's considered loaded. That being said, I've been here 12 years. My predecessor was 20 years before that. The highest speed the crawlers have ever gotten was 1.25. Even during the testing in the 60s, once they get, everybody laughs when I say I go a mile an hour for my work, but at a mile an hour, there's a lot going on with these things, especially with the tread architecture. There's a lot of banging, there's a lot of dynamics with the system. So at a mile an hour, you're looking at a lot of dangerous conditions that could exist if people aren't aware of what's going on.
When it's operating, how many people are working on operating at the same time?
You're looking at the driver's cabs. You think there's a lot going on there, but he's really just keeping us on the crawler way. There is a control room actually on the crawler that's manned by 2 people. So you're looking at 2 in the control room and 1 or 2 in the driver's cabs. God forbid the driver has a heart attack or something. We need somebody in there that can hear you.
That happens quite often.
No, it's not. Thankfully, it's never happened.
The driver's
We are an aging
The driver's
workforce, so it's not
union.
that bad.
I think I'll start to do well before you notice.
What defines the main power to make it go?
Just to close out that so there's 3 to 4 engineers on it. We also have ground observers around the bottom. Obviously, the guy looking out the front can't see everything around him, so we do have 4 to 5 technicians.
They walk.
And they're walking it not only to verify clearances, but they're also checking on the systems too. I mentioned the dynamics. There's a lot of noise coming off of the crawler, and they're in tune with that, so they notice that something's unusual. So we do have observers who are both looking and listening for anything that they might notice.
Main power that makes it
Main
go.
power. There's 4 engines on board. 2 are purely propel engines, and they're locomotive engines. They're big 1,000 horsepower engines that are 1,000 kW, 2,750 horsepower, and they're both on all the time for propel.
So is it diesel electric like a locomotive?
It is. It's actually DC also for the propel. But obviously, when we're propelling down the crawler way, we provide all our onboard power too. So we have 2 facility generator sets that we actually, in one of the other upgrades that we're doing now, is we took out those old 1965 era equipment and we put in new gen sets. That's already been completed on this crawler, and although the other crawler isn't being used for the increased load, it is going to have some kind of duty out here expected. They're going to be moving around something with it. So we're pulling those out, I believe in the end of March, maybe early April. Those are coming out the crawler. Crawler 1 actually is in High Bay 3. We squatters' rights over there too, and we're doing similar modifications over there.
USA used to be in charge of the crawlers. Is NASA taking that over? Or?
Actually, what's today? The 28th?
Yes.
Until the end of the day, United Space Alliance still is. Tomorrow, that goes over to Jacobs. They won the TOSC. I can't remember my own acronym. So Jacobs is going to be taking over. That being said, they've brought in a lot of the USA guys. We wanted that continuity of knowledge because the USA guys, I've been out here 12 years, but there's some folks on the USA engineering side that have been out here 25, 30 years. So we want to make sure that Jacobs maintain that experience base. Normally, like I said, crawler goes about a mile an hour. That means for a move out to the pad, you're looking at about 5 to 6 hours, plus 3 to 4 on the front and back end for picking up the load, transferring the power. Obviously, the mobile launcher or MLP is powered by us when we're moving. So on a normal, smooth trip, you're looking at about a 14-hour day. I don't see that changing in the future for future programs. We love to lift anything that people want us to lift.